Welcome in to another edition of the Kevin and Jason Show, playoffs edition, clinching playoff edition, no scenarios edition. I'm one of your hosts today, Kevin Misseri, here with Jason Shannon to discuss the big Bills over Steelers Sunday Night Football. That's 2-0 in primetime, considering both of these games primetime as they were. And I think the Bills are playing a third one. I've considered primetime here, 4:15 with the NFL Network's pretty decent slate of games this Saturday. So we'll talk about the Patriots game. We might get into it later on. Jason, how you doing today?
I can't be any better. I mean, we are in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs early. Since I know you have given a complex set of playoff scenarios, even when we're 5-9, and we have some way of getting there on 7-9.
I'm 1 for 20 on them.
Tying. You're 1 for 20. I mean, we did end up winning that one. Yeah, we ended up getting that one 2 years ago. That everything did somehow end up working out at that point, but we don't even need it this year. We 2 years ago felt fluky at the time. I don't think this team is perfect, especially with the way that the offense is played. But I think people just have to have some perspective here with a young quarterback, and go back to the days where we went through, trading into the first round to get J.P. Lossman, thinking that Trent Edwards was going to be the future. Ryan Fitzpatrick getting a long-term deal, doing the same thing with B.J. Manuel, trading back and taking him way above where he was supposed to go. We're in this situation right now where I think there's a lot of hope on the horizon. I think even the most cynical people should think that, we have a young quarterback going in the right direction, and we certainly have a defense that's really set up to do this in the future. I mean, I think there's so many things right about this right now. And if you just look at the roster, they had shown the roster of us that we had against Baltimore playing them last year in the opener, and what that team looked like, or what our team looked like 2 years ago when we had receiver problems. It's just so different, and it's refreshing. And the best thing about all of it is that this is hopefully the start. This isn't the peak right now, and even winning a first round game this year wouldn't be the peak right now. This is the start of something really good, and I think this team was built in the right way. And that's all of my feelings about the Bills.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to talk about. And I mean, one of the first things you can talk about, well, first of all, the Bills got a lot of help. So the scenarios, the Bills were probably going to clinch. They were 90 up to 98.5% based on the couple of things I use. Basically, it came down to now they would just have needed a Tennessee loss. That's it. One Tennessee loss. So they were in really, really good shape. They obviously took care of business in a game where it was very obvious the Bills played the game they wanted to. They reined in Josh a little bit. They were on the road against Renegade and whatever else weird things that they do there with their towels and their Wiz Khalifa, and they really love to pump up the crowd like that, Jason. So
sure.
Renegade, is that a good song? Well, we're going to start there because, I want to jazz the show up. So what do you think about Renegade?
I don't care for it much at all.
Yeah,
I think it's a lame pump up song. I think that's
song.
Something. Now, we have the shout song, and it's a controversial song.
At least it's custom.
It is custom. The original is a much better song than both of them, but I think we've had it long enough that
they did shop it around, right? Isn't that the story? They shopped it to different teams, and only the Bills took it or something. Isn't that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that it's pretty unique to us at this point, even though other people do play the original shout song. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in the end, I think we have the better one, and I think it works as a touchdown song.
But they don't use it as a touchdown song. Or are you talking about the shout?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the shout song. I think it works as a punctuation. If we needed a song to get people pumped up during the third quarter of an important game, I don't think I would be using that, and I'd feel pretty disappointed to use that at that point. But everybody celebrates in your section, and that sort of song. I don't like it as a say hi to somebody song. Like, I don't like it like you see somebody that's a Bills fan and you do the shout song. I've never been a fan of that. How do you feel about the shout song in non-Bills scoring situations? It's even better.
You like it? Okay.
Well,
you like it?
I think it's. I don't know. I'm also still a drunk single person, so I can. Sometimes just yelling stuff is fun. I'm not going to hate too much on that. I do think that sometimes there are situations where it gets annoying, but at the same time, like if I do think it's cool that you can go to
I like it at
any random
weddings.
bar in Buffalo and still start that thing
Yeah,
and
random
make it
bars
work.
fine. I'm fine with random bar. I'm fine with weddings. Like it at weddings. Um, I
I
just
mean,
don't know about
where are you hearing the song other than that?
like if you
Because pretty much Bill's parking lot, bars, weddings is pretty much the extent of where I get it, even here. Like, I don't go to Franco's and like somebody's giving me the shout. I'd probably
Sabres game. That's where
respond.
I just got it last week.
Oh, you know what?
Sabres
I
game in the
mean, that's
hall when no one's really that lit. Um,
yeah,
and then like no
all
one
right.
responds. That's
Well, that is one thing. Like, if you do it in a situation where you're not going to get a response, like you're the lame one.
okay.
Like
All right.
you gotta know where to do
Okay.
it. And if you've really read the crowd that wrong, that you're in a Buffalo location and you don't get a response in the
I've heard
shout
it UB
song,
basketball too. That's the other
you're the
one.
loser.
Yeah.
UB basketball is a terrible place to do it
Yeah.
because like
That's not even
one
relevant.
one thing it's not relevant. Two, they have their own stuff, and if you're not enough of a fan, I mean, that's where it really comes down to is people that don't go to UB basketball games and then try to co-opt the Bills shout song into there when UB has their own beautiful own chants that
They do?
they do during games and hand motions and things during, like every other team during free throws and all of that. And then
Yep.
somebody gives in a, and you might as well be, I don't know, rooting for the other team because like you're not here for us.
Right.
So
Right.
um, yeah, I think that those are probably good examples. I think the Sabres, even as a professional team that shares ownership and all of that, is a little more acceptable than college basketball. Um,
Yeah, and being here in Rochester, you'll actually so it'll be like not a market for the Bills. So occasionally you'll hear it somewhere you shouldn't. Like
yeah,
it'll happen like that they see it on their bills, and I'm like, yo, dude, I'm just like walking in Wegmans. Like
right. There's so many, everybody's wearing Bill stuff in Buffalo, and I
right.
mean you see plenty of it in Rochester. But
You do, but it's
if you went and
50-50.
shouted, if you were shouted at every person in a Bills hat in Buffalo, you'd be out of
They're right.
voice. So
Right. A little different here. So I think even though I don't know, I think there's an etiquette to it. And then back to Renegade, they're down or the third quarter in a big situation. The Bills, I think they were like on a roll of never having been scored on after playing it. I don't know how long that lasted, but it lasted a long time.
that's strange. They
It
should
started
just
with the Browns playoff game, like the Browns maybe last time.
That's weird. I mean, you should
Yeah.
stop the song at that point because you have to just be keeping tabs. I mean, I'm sure everybody in the crowd knows it at that point. But like, I think maybe they should take a little bit of should take notice on it because the fact is, like, it's just I don't know, man. You're not going to get me on Sticks.
Well,
Like,
I
you're
mean,
gonna
you
play
got like
Sticks
Matt
or
Barkley.
Foreigner, and I don't think that's pump up. There's some pump up classic rock. Um, you need to just throw in some. I mean, first off, like
I
there's a
like
lot of other pump
AC/DC.
music. ACDC, yeah. I mean, if you want to just do an A/B test or whatever, like go and play play some Led Zeppelin, play some ACDC once, and see if
Yep.
your team does any better. But continuing to go with the early '80s radio rock, I don't know.
Reminds
It
me of
doesn't
Billy
even sound that
Madison,
good out of the
bro.
speakers. So
That's all I think
uh,
of is Billy Madison with that
yeah,
song.
but that's the thing. I think it's a dopey pump up song, and I think the Bills kind of understood that it was pretty stupid too
Well,
because
I mean, Matt
they were
Barkley's
dancing
like
like
twirling
goofs.
his parka around and
Yeah, you got the backup quarterback like swinging his stuff
like
around. Like
he's like the bench on a college basketball team. That's what Matt Barkley was.
honestly, like that's what they all should be. Like
Yeah, no, I like
you're not
that.
playing.
I do like
Don't.
Black and Yellow though. I am a fan of the song. I thought he did a good job of not making it like about their football team and just his car, which is around the Steelers team. But
Yeah,
I always thought that was a good song. So
yeah. I mean that's a pump up song, and also like something that like people have heard under the age of 30. So, and I think that does matter a little bit. But
yeah, so along these lines, I saw a lot on Twitter today and yesterday. Do you like Chris Collinsworth, or do you treat him like the John Smoltz to me as a Yankees fan?
I think he's tough. Like first off, his association with PFF is
Yeah, he likes it.
he like owns it. He's got
Yeah,
ownership in it, so they're going to use it, and it's probably the only reason they use it in those intros on there, where every single Bills player is ranked like 110th at their position, but is somehow 10-4. Um, it, it, yeah, I mean, I think he's the reason I use it in the intros. I think I've gone back and forth on him probably more than any announcer. I do think that seems smart compared to some of the more mainstream announcers in the past. I think there's guys that do a really good job on the undercards of the CBS and the Fox teams.
Yeah, you really
Everybody's
like
heard,
the the
everybody's telling me
undercards of
about
some of them.
Spiro and Adam, but
Well, Spiro will tweet back at you. Come on, that gets a +1.
yeah, but well, he's also the second Knicks announcer, so
Okay, right.
he's got multiple things going for him for me. But again, I think he's the best by playing the guy in the. I just think he
I like
takes
him.
away the least
I
from
think
the
he's good.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think he's good.
I don't think he doesn't mess up because other people mess up names like incessantly, like, and there's a lot of color guys that really suck, and I think Adam Archuleta is like officially like average.
Yeah,
Um, but guys like Berline and Gannon, I just think stink so bad.
yeah. I
Uh,
mean, yeah, like the enunciation of like words and then like the pronunciation of names it's like it's bad. Like I think I think I heard a bunch of dabbles, if I'm not mistaken, on the
oh
bill.
yeah, and like I guess the
That's
offensive
not a
coordinator,
hard
like whatever.
name.
I'm not gonna make you nail every single one.
No,
But
definitely not. I mean, not when there's like depending on the players, like like the Bills play the Patriots this weekend, and they have Joe Juwan, but it's you really Juwan. I mean, it's. I mean, I'm not like expecting you to know like every single pronunciation
yeah,
of
I just think
names.
yeah, I mean we're talking right now, like we could easily pronounce a bunch of stuff wrong. It's tough to just keep talking and follow the action and whatever.
On during good
Anyways,
games
Collinsworth,
too.
I think he's okay. The slide in is like my favorite thing ever. Um, he's just got that goofy look on his face, but
Yeah,
overall, I
yeah,
think
yeah.
he's just average. And I think that we have been put in a few games where guys like him, or I mean, obviously Thanksgiving, where you had the Romo Nance tandem, just absolutely obliterating the Bills until they just couldn't anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and even
Um,
Tony Romo likes the Bills a little bit. Like he doesn't hate
yeah,
them. He likes Josh Allen.
yeah, but it's like, I mean, I guess it goes for any team that really plays in like that prime, like 4 o'clock spot. Like you're either getting Romo or Aikman. Like, so, um, which is
What
probably
about this
why.
weekend? Speaking of which, we'll talk about the stat. Then you're gonna have some pro Bill. I mean, Mike Tirico picked the Bills this weekend. He's gonna be calling this game. Always a fan, graduate of SU.
Mhm.
And then you're gonna have Peter Schrager, a big Bills advocate, with Mike Robb on Good Morning Football.
Yeah,
They
those NFL Network guys,
they like them. They like the Bills.
they like the Bills. I think they're smart. I think those guys are generally smarter than a lot of the guys announcing the games. I don't think I've ever heard Schrager do a game. Is he just doing sideline or
I
because
don't
they have
think so. I don't think that's. I
because
don't think he's sideline. I think he must be
are they gonna put him in the booth? Because I know it's kind of like a mishmash group of
three
people.
in the booth. I don't think
Because there's
he's
who's the third person there?
doing the game. Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner. Okay, so Kurt Warner is like a neutral to me. He generally is thoughtful, but yeah, I don't know if they're
And
gonna
he's
do three
not.
in the booth.
People say he hates Josh Allen, so it might mash out. I mean, but he's generally pretty neutral. So we're gonna have to see this Kurt Warner, um, love or hate that we're gonna see.
I
But I
mean,
mean,
in the end, when it comes down to Josh Allen, like if he plays well, he's gonna get treated well. Like,
yeah,
and it's going to be interesting because I think for him and for the offense, I mean, generally for since the last Patriots game, I mean, pretty much played good against bad defenses and bad against good ones, like,
yeah.
or, somewhere neutral where it might have been good enough or it might not have been, but we're generally kind of
Hey, the Bills are
reflecting the team we're
ninth in
playing
the
against.
league in explosive offensive plays with 73, which is plays over 20-yard pass, 15-yard run. So I don't know. At some point, they're not perfect. The Bills' offense is a little bit underrated. I think it does decent stuff. I'm obviously a pretty vocal criticizer of Brian Dable. I don't like the 6 runs. I think that was one of the worst stretches of the season.
Yeah, that drive was the end of that
6
drive was
runs.
probably the worst thing. Well, just the 3 in a row on that drive
3 out of
was
4 with Gore.
yeah. That was as somebody who's never, I don't think ever had any thoughts about firing him. that was one of the worst stretches of
I
the
mean,
year.
he might keep his job, and he probably will, especially now that they've clinched. I thought the scenario of 9-7 and out would have done it, but I think he's in. He's fine. But there's people that thinking he's a head coach. I mean,
That part's crazy, but at the same time, like,
it just, you would have to think that Josh Allen is terrible to have that belief, or was terrible, because that's the only thing he could bring to an interview.
But people do want to see those turnarounds. I mean, look, people were talking about Ken Dorsey too. I mean, not seriously. Everybody's just trying to figure out who they think might be a candidate in the future. So they look at who did a good job.
I think Ken Dorsey had a lot to do with Allen. I mean, Dable was with them last year, and Ken Dorsey came in, and all of a sudden Josh Allen could hit intermediate throws. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, and I get it, and they thought that with Zach Taylor, and they saw it with Sean McVay and like whatever,
right.
But I'm not sure that being able to develop a quarterback makes you a good head coach.
No,
I'm
talking about. I'm just talking about a good quarterback coach.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about.
But like every time these guys like do anything to help improve a quarterback at all, they're like, oh, you know what? If you're drafting a quarterback, you better go and hire this guy. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe offensive coordinator, I guess, or quarterback.
That's what I was just talking about. I'm like, yeah, Ken Dorsey has a chance to be an offensive coordinator first, and Brian Dable has like been an average offensive coordinator for the Bills. He's had his moments of decent play. I think he can be aggressive, but putting the reins on Josh Allen after opening it back up in that Miami Dallas stint, kind of that range, I thought he was getting a corner. I just didn't love the offensive game plan. It clearly was, don't allow sacks, which they only allowed one. But I don't know.
I think when we get into a game where McDermott says, hey, man, we just need like 17 here, I think he really struggles with just being a little too conservative. And when he has the green light to open it up and stuff, I think that him and Josh Allen both benefit from that a lot. And maybe they got some cold feet because I think that was probably the game plan against New England the first time, and it went really bad. But
I think there's nothing to play for, Jason. So as we, kind of transition, it was a good win. Bills played just like fantastic defense outside of one bad drive, and it was clearly scripted, and they knew exactly what they were going to do. That was the scripted drive that they were probably going to open the game with had they received the ball. So they clearly saved that to the third quarter. That was the only success. And the Bills have struggled. The only time the Bills defense has struggled is against scripted drives, one where they can really plan and maybe throw in front of Levi Wallace and maybe hit us. I mean, really, it's generally on a one-on-one, like where Trey White was beat probably the only time in the game, and they hit him for it. So it is what it is. Trey White was fantastic. Went out with a stinger. I mean, Trey White's like in the way of the injury, not player. He is the new like Willis McGahee, where I swear to God, he goes down and looks like it's 6 weeks, 12 weeks.
He missed one play in that game.
He missed one play. It's the Willis McGahee where it looks like he tears another ACL. And he's in the next series. So just with Trey, like he's physical, he's a great player, he's a good personality. Until I see him not in the tent anymore, I'm gonna think that he's okay, unless he's like carted off or something. He just kind of, I don't know. It's just kind of been what I've noticed. I've seen him down before while being at a game, and I watched him down in training. And he also watch him make a play. He'll just like lay on the ground for a good like 3 minutes, and I'm like, is he hurt?
Yeah, he definitely does a lot of like the
one pick against Miami. I swear he looked hurt and then just like sprinted up and like ran away.
I will say that injury did like give me like the gut check of like how do I feel with him being out, and honestly, like that was really, really sucked. But I was like, man, there's definitely seasons that would have been Justin Rogers instead of Kevin Johnson, and I feel a lot better about that. Like, yeah. I wasn't thinking our team was going to fall apart. That said, like clearly Trey White was the best player on our team in that game, and we definitely used him. But when I was feeling it at that moment, I was like, well, I mean, the secondary is not going to fall apart. And considering you still have Terry Johnson, you don't have to bump out a nickel. You have safeties that can play cornerback. It's just a really well built unit, and obviously you want Trey White as much as you possibly can because he might be the second best cornerback in the league, but. We could actually afford an injury at that position, like if we absolutely had to, which, cross our fingers, we've had one injury on this entire team all year, or two, I guess. Harry Phillips and Ty Nsekhe, and other than that, I can't imagine another team being as healthy as us this year.
Yeah, no, they've done a good job there. So it was, good win. They turned him over 4 times. Guy's not very good football, Duck Hodges. How we were like spending so much time in the pregame on him with his duck calling championships, who's not even probably 50-50 to start this week. On top of people then now he's the 4th quarterback, Jason. He went from probably being better than Josh
Yeah.
Allen to now
he's a 4th stringer.
Now he's a 4th quarterback when we're counting Josh Dobbs trade to Jacksonville. I don't know. I don't know about that. The reason Josh Dobbs was traded is because they liked the players behind him, and then he just straight out beat out Mason Rudolph, who just got in an all-out brawl with the Browns. I don't know. At some point, they thought that this guy was better. To me, that means he's the 2nd quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I don't know what it. Anybody who thought he was better than Josh Allen is pretty dumb. I mean, Josh Allen didn't put his best foot forward in that game, but I was just thinking all game that. Hodges is an undrafted rookie. He's eventually going to make plays like that, and certainly his last 2 picks were plays like that.
Yeah, and I mean,
he wasn't going to throw out and have perfect games. He wasn't going to go 4-0 like those guys. You just wait down to make mistakes, and you play the best defense that you possibly can, and play sound, and make sure that James Washington doesn't randomly kill you and you fall down on the ground or whatever. Because other than that, you play normal defense, you play NFL Bills defense, and the guy's going to end up throwing it to you. And the teams that he beat, I don't even think we're capable of that. So, good job on the Bills, but we did what we were supposed to do, right. And in the end, we played an undrafted rookie.
And I mean, okay. Sean McDermott is fantastic against average to below average quarterbacks. He excels in scenarios where he's playing the Trevor Siemians, the Brandon Allens, pretty much even you can lump in anyone you want into that. That's not top 13. I mean, he plays really well against quarterbacks that can't manipulate him.
And you'd say that even really that's probably the uniting factor in the below average teams that have beat us have been the ones who had decent quarterbacks. I would still say that Baker Mayfield is
Carson Wentz
on the track to be a big one. And Carson
He's
Wentz,
their only player on that team.
Yeah. And he's had a struggling year, but you would still say as a team that took his team to the Super Bowl and, is consistently ranked as one of the top 12 quarterbacks. That's how we lose to those teams.
Yeah, Tom Brady, and then obviously Lamar Jackson. I mean, that's all that they've lost to. That's not a bad slew of teams that you've lost to, Jason. So
yeah, the unfortunate part about that is if you look at the possible quarterbacks in the AFC, we could be playing
Deshaun Watson.
It's basically a murderer's row. If we get past Deshaun Watson, it's Jackson, Brady, Mahomes, Watson, and then whoever the 6th is going to be, probably not a particularly good quarterback.
Either Tannehill or I guess Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
Or Duck Hodges. So, which as a 5 seed now, we've never been in my conscious memory a 5 seed. I don't even know if we've ever been a 5 seed really. Have we been a 5 seed? Obviously.
It would have been a while. I wonder if we were in 99. Probably not.
Well, we went to Tennessee.
Yeah, we went to Tennessee, and I think that was a 3 seed.
Were we the 6?
I think that Tennessee team had a pretty decent record.
They probably did.
98.
Huh. Okay, well.
Anyways, I think probably one of them we were probably a 5 seed, but that's besides the point.
Anyways, the 5 seed is an interesting spot because you become a fan of the 6 seed really. Obviously they upset a team and upset 2nd team, you get a home game. So at some point, I'm a fan of the 6 seed, so I'm adopting them at least for the AFC playoffs. And I think the Steelers could still cause them a healthy Steelers team. Mason Rudolph's been good at times. I don't know. I don't know. I guess
I wouldn't count them out. They won a lot of games doing the things that they do the best at, which is getting turnovers.
I just don't think it's a shoe-in that KC wins 100% against Pittsburgh. I don't think it's a shoe-in.
No, and you would assume that a team that's going to beat them is going to be a team that plays defense. I don't know if anybody's going to outgun them. If you don't have any resistance to them, which I'm not saying that Tennessee necessarily is that team either, but if you lack resistance, Kansas City's still going to put up 45 on you, and you don't win losing, letting 45 points go. So,
obviously Houston over KC. Is that your opinion, or do you like something different for the first round?
I mean, I want to see Houston out of all those teams, probably, even if it were Tennessee or whatever. Because there were obviously for the last few weeks, we've been a little pessimistic, but we've pretty much thought that the 5 seed was ours for the taking for a long time now. And whether you
Right.
had Indianapolis or Tennessee or Houston or whatever, I think Houston, a team with a bad secondary, and our ability to
Play in a dome,
keep quarterbacks in check, because Lamar Jackson had to make 3 ridiculous plays to really have the game that he did. We really stifled him to the level that a lot of teams haven't right now, and I would say Deshaun Watson isn't Lamar Jackson at this point.
not today.
Lamar Jackson's just athletically at such a ridiculous level right now that completely changes the way that you play football against him. I'm not sure that Deshaun Watson's quite that player, though he is a very good quarterback, but I do think that we match up pretty well. We're one of the only teams that are going to be out there, besides maybe New England, that has a number 1 that you could put on Hopkins. With speed guys not really killing us this year. I think that's the kind of matchup that we want, maybe above all teams right now, and just a team that we could at least have a chance to score 21 to 28 points against, I think is
I like KC only. I just don't want to go there. Like I'd like to play them. I don't think they have a running game. I don't think they're particularly good. I mean, Mahomes isn't the star that he's been last year. I think their defense sucks.
And another thing you said about the dome, but we also have, I think that's a place that Bills fans are going to take over.
Which one? Are you talking about Houston?
Houston, yeah.
Yeah, it's possible. It's a good place to go. It's nice.
It's nice. People apparently like going on vacations for these things. And also, I think that's a place that would sell their tickets.
Where 100%. And KC wouldn't be that way. And
Kansas City wouldn't be that way. Pittsburgh wasn't. People tried to go to the Pittsburgh game. It's not that far away. It was still mostly Pittsburgh fans. You'd argue that's one of the only real home or real road games we've played all year this year. And that's just because Pittsburgh fans are pretty dedicated.
It is. Probably second was Cleveland.
And I think we got there just because we were, because it's so close. But those teams in the Southeast, traditional college,
and they traditionally
places
suck in the playoffs. Like traditionally, the AFC South sucks in the playoffs.
Yeah. Jacksonville had that run 2 years ago, but other than that, I think Indianapolis and Houston have had a pretty decent record of not getting very far.
Right.
So,
right.
I'm not sure this is going to change.
Yeah. So I think it's a good matchup. I'd like to play, like if we got to say a home game, I'd still lean Kansas City. I don't know. I just think there's a lot the Bills can do to slow them down. I just like teams that don't have good running games. And for some reason, for an Andy Reid team, it's definitely the worst running game that I've ever seen him have.
They just don't have the personnel this year to do it.
They have about 4 Williamses, and they just like D Williamses, and they just like swap them all in and out.
And McCoy's, is the player that we saw, in training camp. He's
right.
Lost and last year and the year before. He's
essentially lost to Singletary. Yeah, he didn't make our team, so he's actually been playing that team.
Reasonably good at making big plays or making 10-plus yard runs and such, but gets stopped at the line all the time, which is basically the player we already saw.
Once he started getting stopped at the line more, that's when the Bills are like, well, at some point, we can't have the zeros to negative plays. We need someone like Singletary who'll give us 3 or 4 or 5.
That's why we have Frank Gore.
Yeah. So, Jason, that's all being said for the playoffs. A lot to look forward to. You saw a play kind of, I guess we'll recap the Patriots show in a later show this week. But apologies for no show last week. Had some mix-ups not mix-ups, had some family stuff going on, emergencies here. And then
we have a pretty long record of stuff happening during recording or right before.
Really weird. Yeah, it was Friday the 13th too, by the way.
What?
It was Friday the 13th on top of it.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, that was destined to not work out.
Yeah, so some stuff here, so we didn't get a show in, but there was plenty of cover one. You know us, we have plenty of shows going on. Cover One Buffalo had it covered. on top of, the great content, premium content. Check it out. We're pushing it right now. You saw me retweet it yesterday. Really good stuff out there. Premium Slack groups, lots of good content. We have merch. Get out there and subscribe. It's worth the content. You get put into special fantasy groups. There's a lot of fun. So once again, check out the premium content. But yeah, we'll be back with our dual shows this week. We'll preview the Patriots game and kind of what we have to look forward to in that game, kind of be able to play loose. Really should watch the offense open up, Jason. But lastly, I kind of wanted to close the show out with kind of the players that we've seen kind of step up lately, or guys that everyone's talking about. I want to start at the top here. A guy that's been on my mind a little bit is Tyler Kroft. Made that play in the end zone. Josh Allen looked off him. Left him open, made a good play. So Tyler Kroft's really on a 1-year, $6.5 million deal, Jason. Do you think that the team should use him down the stretch, or do you think that this is it? They're going to cut him, kind of lose that 6.5 for the year, roll Knox and go a different route? Because next year he'd be on the hook for, looks like, yearly cash of 5.8 mil, dead cap of 1.6, cap hit of 6.6. So if they cut him at the end of the year, they don't have to pay him some bonuses. Essentially turns into a 1-year, $6.5 million deal. Where do you stand on Tyler Kroft after him making arguably his only play of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is. I mean, I think you have to monitor things, and maybe this is the place to continue to figure it out right now, where maybe the stakes are a little lower.
Okay.
But Knox has probably been about what you would want him to be this year.
Sure.
Besides, dropping the ball a little too much, but just in pure production, and then just seeing what he's got athletically and all of that. Yep. I think that's about what you would expect out of a project 3rd-round pick. And I think the indication is still that he's going to improve, especially because he didn't get a ton of a preseason. Him and Kroft both missed a decent amount of time, where Tommy Sweeney was really doing everything in the preseason.
Yep.
I think with him and with Sweeney, they have guys that they see going forward, and maybe they look to move on from Kroft. But I think
does he
still
see 2020? Does Tyler Kroft see 2020?
I guess no.
Okay.
I don't think it's like, I wouldn't say that's a for sure thing, but I'd say over 50% in my mind at this point. I think they value that sort of money too much, especially if they have an out. They even though it's not even that immediate yet, like, they are going to have to re-sign some horses and use some of the money that they've been, saving up as a war chest for a decent amount of time right now. And obviously they're going to still be active in free agency. This team still needs playmakers. They're going to have to sign a running back if they don't rely on the draft for that either. Receivers still, a question. They could do stuff with the offensive line. They're going to want that money, and I'm not sure that the guy they see it is potentially their 3rd tight end with the way that they still continue to use Lee Smith. I think he could be expendable, and also they like health, and it's been one of the only guys to get hurt this year. So I don't know.
Okay. No, I think all that's fair. I personally don't think there's a chance he's on the team, so I'm a little bit more on that side that they say $5 million by letting him go, get rid of the deal. They did and I'm not a big Dawson Knox stan, but I think he's done enough to at least solidify the role. I think that they might entertain. I think they're going to play in the draft next year. Look maybe for another tight end at some point. I think tight end, like for me, tight end and running back, to me, I think they'll still play in the draft at. I mean, those are young. You can get young players on good deals. That's what this regime loves. And the value's just not there. I mean, look at Tyler Kroft. Tyler Kroft himself got a too big of a deal coming off an injury for what he is. Okay.
I just wonder if they still have that sort of belief in him, because they really had some belief in him when they signed him to that thing.
They did keep Trent Murphy.
And maybe the injury dissuaded him, or the multiple injuries dissuaded him. But, yeah, I don't know. Trent Murphy's still here.
They did. They let Trent Murphy get year 2 on a deal. I don't think he had quite the out, though, that Kroft has.
I think his was a 2-year deal.
He does now, so that brings me to the next person is Trent Murphy. $8.95 million on the cap next year, 1.75 dead. really save 7 on him. Does that go to Shaq Lawson, or do you keep him? He is PFF's favorite defensive end on the Bills. So do you keep him at that number, or do you just roll that to Shaq Lawson at 7?
You roll it to Shaq Lawson.
Okay. Roll it to Shaq. What do you pay him? How much do you pay him?
I don't know. I'm terrible at this contract stuff. Who are his like players? I'm really not that worried about overpaying him a little bit. I know defensive ends are expensive, but he also doesn't have the stats. He does have the first round pick pedigree, and sort of, that stuff sometimes carries over to your next contract.
It does, but sometimes it can hurt you if you don't live up to it. I look at it both ways.
People have called him a bust for multiple years now, and he probably still hasn't lived up to everything you would ever want for where he got drafted and for having to sit out an injured year and et cetera. But I think he's a big part of the team. I think he plays both aspects of the game pretty well. This coaching staff and him seem to reciprocate liking each other, because there was definitely a point at some point where we thought that maybe he'd be on the outs on a Adolphus Washington sort of trajectory. And somehow he is one of the 3 guys that have survived on this team with Zoe and Jerry Hughes from when Bean took over. I mean, 3 guys, and he was one of them. I think that is, even though obviously that's how the contracts kind of played out, like, I think that is indicative of a guy that they still like and believe in. He's having the best season of his career so far. I think he's a versatile player. I think he does both things better than Trent Murphy. And you could probably get him on similar-ish money, I would guess.
Yeah, some names that I'm comped him at. You have Henry Anderson, a guy that just got signed. Daquan Jones, 3 for 21. I think that's a pretty good comp.
Yeah.
I guess statistically, some way, not if you include, I think Cameron Hayward's having a really good year, but he got a 6 for 60.
Yeah.
But he is in the realm, believe it or not, based on sacks a game, games played, tackles a game, hurry, stops, and rating.
They play different positions, though.
But he is, for some reason, in his comp. Danico Autry from Indianapolis. So they kind of look at him as like a versatile, because he was like a versatile. He just plays in a 4-3 now under McDermott, but he was originally in Rex Ryan's scheme, and could be a 5-tech. There's options there that the other teams might see him as. So that's why you'll see that. And Leonard Williams is in there too on a comp. $8.2 million salary. So I think he's between 7 and 8, Jason. I guess, to make a long story short.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. I mean, I was going to say, probably maybe something similar to the deal that Trent Murphy got in the first place. Yeah, I would say maybe a little bit more.
Just
than
give
that,
it to him. Just roll it in.
Really, I just would rather have him. And honestly, if we had some sort of rotation where it was him and Hughes, and we drafted a pass rusher in the somewhat early-ish, like that, like an athletic guy that can really make a difference.
Right.
And this isn't a good defensive end group at all in terms of first-round picks. I think there's a chance there's only 2 of them or 3 of them.
Good free agent really class, though. Should note that. Jadeveon Clowney. Looks like Derek Wolfe, Zeke Ansah's back end, Gerald McCoy for some reasons listed as a defensive end. Big Bob Quinn, Leonard Williams, aforementioned, Jason Pierre-Paul, Shaq Lawson, Eric Armstead's playing well. So there are some names here. Chris Jones is listed there. Yannick Ngakoue.
Ngakoue.
There's names. There's Everson Griffin. I don't ever know his status.
Ngakoue is definitely a guy that could be thought about if they actually wanted to make a splash in that position.
People love Jabal Sheard. Apparently he's been a really good defensive end when he's healthy. So there's names, Jason, that are out there.
Yeah, and I do think that the pass rush has to do something even beyond him. I just think if that guy's in your rotation as your second or third guy, I think you're doing okay. I would keep him.
10 sacks. Big Bob Quinn has 10 sacks.
And I do think that he's done enough with, the team seems to look to him as, I don't know about a leader, but at least part of the locker room and a friend, and certainly somebody that Sean McDermott is, without saying it, has probably changed his mind about.
Mm-hmm. Do you pay someone like Chris Jones $18 million? That's his projected. Do you do that?
I wouldn't, just at our positional. Okay. I wouldn't if I wasn't playing at 3-4.
I think someone in his situation a lot is Vic Beasley, a guy that gets after the quarterback, was drafted high, same age, coming up on the same contract. I think a lot of similarities there. He's in the same 7 sacks this year. Same with him. So there are names. I like Vic Beasley. I think he's a good player, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vic Beasley sometimes gets looked at a guy that maybe had his best seasons at the beginning of his career, but I mean,
Yep.
it's back with 7 sacks this year on a pretty bad defense.
Yep.
You know, I think they could be getting somewhere in the same range, I guess.
Yeah, I think he played well under McDermott, same age, same everything. So if for some reason Shaq Price is out, that's a name to watch out
in
for.
college, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Same everything. So that's a lot of that in market leading to Jerry Hughes. The Bills did just re-sign him. You don't think about moving on from him. So the cap hit from him, I mean, I think he's safe next year, but I really think the year of reckoning is the following year for Jerry Hughes. I've heard some people ask me about him. There's your answer. No, they will not move on from Jerry Hughes or Star Lotulelei this offseason. Both of them have a negative cap hit. And for the same price, you're going to want both of those players if it means you're not going to make any money, especially with $90 million on the cap. There's no reason to move on from either. But 2021, both of those guys will be in this segment this time next year. So for Hughes and Lotulelei will still be here through, might be their last year, or maybe they'll play out their contracts. Last name I have here, Jason, just someone that I have floating around, and I'm not a personal fan of. Jordan Phillips, a guy, 10-sack guy. I don't even know what a guy like that's worth. Was on waivers last year, did play his way up to a $6, $7, $8 million deal. Might have to play under 1 year, 7 or 8 to prove that he can not 1 year. What do you do with Jordan Phillips, I guess? I don't even know.
I think with the notoriety and, I mean, honestly, probably a Pro Bowl berth because they do those votings and they basically just sort it by sacks and people just go and pick the top 2 or 3 people at the top of the list when they don't know who to pick besides the people on their own team. I could definitely see him getting in there.
Like 1 sack last year, 2 in the year prior, 0.5 the year prior, and 2 the year prior.
Honestly, I don't think we'll even have to make that decision. I think somebody will just give him bad money.
Okay.
I'm sure they want him back on a certain number. I just think he's going to come back and be the 4th best defensive tackle on this team.
With Harry coming back.
With Harry coming back. I mean, he might be better than Starr, but certainly Starr's he's going to play his 35 to 40% of the snaps no matter what.
Right. Ed Oliver developing. I mean, you really are paying for a defensive tackle.
Should be great. We really don't necessarily need him. And yeah, if he wants to go and play a prove it deal, sure. I just think after a season like that, somebody's going to go and pay him, and I don't blame him for taking money.
What's the max you give him? Give me the max you give him personally.
I don't know. I don't 1 year, I don't care because it just doesn't matter.
Multi-year.
Yeah, multi-year. I don't know. I don't think you could pay him more than 6.5.
Okay. So 3 for 19, something like that.
Yeah, I get. Oh, that wouldn't infuriate me as long as he plays well.
I didn't like his 1 for 5 this year, so you don't have to. I thought that was a super. I mean, and the Bills did a favor paying him that. I mean, he was coming off of a 2-sack year, a 1-sack year. But did a lot of raise the roofs and cool stuff, but gets after it. I think Ed Oliver will step right in after his rookie year to take those sacks away. It's a team stat to me in a lot of ways. He ran into a sack yesterday or on Sunday. I don't know. We'll see. I think he's just accumulating some of the stats. He's in there in certain situations. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think you can pay the guy more than a 1 year prove it deal or a 2 or 3 year deal at 6 to 7 annual per. So.
Yeah, and really only because we have the money too.
Really, I mean, 100%.
I think he is a effort defensive tackle that doesn't particularly stop the run.
No, 2 for 10, and Kevin's happy. He's gonna get 3 for 20 though. So we'll see if the Bills are the ones that give it to him. Jason, action-packed show as always. We're able to go through some of the players, what happened in Pittsburgh, and kind of tease the New England show. We'll get that show out to you at the end of this week, kind of what we think the Bills should do. Neither of us picked because we weren't on a pod last week, but I'm going to say we both picked the Bills, so we're even in the pick'em game. Were you going to pick against the Bills?
No.
Okay.
No, we needed that game.
Okay.
Although it would have been tough. I don't know what I would have said on Thursday, but by Sunday I was full in on the Bills winning this game against Duck Hodges.
What about Friday when we were going to record?
I I was 50-50. I probably would have decided on the Bills because there's no way I was going to
would've.
lose on a Duck Hodges.
No, I couldn't do it.
Win.
Everyone had asked me in person. I'm just like, I don't ever think Sean McDermott loses to bad quarterbacks. If they had a good, if Ben was playing, completely different answer for me. Yeah, I don't see the Bills losing to bad quarterbacks ever. This is going to be a tough one. So Jason, you get your pick'em hat on. You are one game behind still. So I will pick the game first, and eventually that Bills Jets game you could tie me on, because who the heck knows if that game's even going to matter.
Yeah, I wonder if we're really actually going to be in a position to sit players.
That's what I wanted to kind of end with. Do you think you sit players? Do you sit players? Obviously, if you lose, like, you have to sit your players, right? If you lose to New England, do you sit your players?
No, they'll still start the players. It's going to look like a preseason game 3.
Okay.
Yeah. I think McDermott understands and I guess you just have to keep rolling the dice that you stay healthy. It would stink if somebody got hurt in some situation, but I think that he probably thinks it's very important to prepare for all these games without breaks. I think you could maybe see guys on the line. Anybody who's a limited practice guy, like, definitely not play. You might even see
you can only scratch 7. You can only scratch 7.
Yeah, I mean, you could see a player or two maybe get a larger role, or you see.
I don't think you play
TJ Yeldon actually dresses for this one, or Duke Williams actually dresses.
I don't think you play Trey White or John Brown. I don't think there's any reason to do that.
Yeah, but I think Josh Allen's definitely starting.
Yeah.
No matter what,
because quarterbacks are protected, and he's not going to run.
You know what I could see though is, like, just Frank Gore getting the ball 30 times.
Frank and TJ. I don't play Singletary. No, I don't play Singletary. I don't play Brown, and I don't play Trey White.
It'll be interesting.
I'm fine with most of the defensive linemen playing. I don't care.
I just think he values preparation so much week to week that
the Jets aren't playing for anything. Like, is Gase playing for his job or no? Or they're going to want the draft pick, so why would they want to beat us? They can't knock us out of anything. Like, what are they? Are they going to be playing?
It'll be interesting to see where they're sitting as far as the draft picks go. They've done a pretty good job at blowing some games.
They can't possibly want to beat our B team and lose their draft pick compensation. I don't know. I would. I'd be pissed. But
we seem to do it every year.
That's true.
This year we don't.
They don't really have much of a defense playing around, just Jamal Adams and who they're sitting, and Quinnen Williams, and I guess Henry Anderson. They don't really play anyone else, so that'll be a good game to talk about. It'll be a lot of things to go over based on this game. It's pretty a moot point if the Bills do win, because then they are even. Still got to be careful though. I mean, it still takes a New England loss to Miami. Don't go out there and. That's going to be a bigger discussion, Jason. If they beat New England, how do you handle this, knowing that the Patriots need to lose to the Dolphins? Like, that's.
I think you have to go for it.
Okay. No holds barred. You just go for it. All in.
Yeah. I don't think you worry about it. I think I don't know
if it was anyone
when
other
it happens,
than Miami,
but I'd be scoreboard watching probably.
I will be watching their game as much as ours, because if they don't lose, it doesn't matter what the Bills do. I guess you could look at it both ways. Bills don't win, it doesn't matter what they do.
Yeah, but if the Patriots, I'm going to assume we both have 1:00 starts, but if the Patriots going up 21-0 on Miami, like, Barkley's going into the game in the
that's what I mean.
Quarter.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think that could happen regardless, unless we really get into a position where we can win and they lose, and we win.
There's no way that New England goes into the playoffs losing 4 out of 5 out of 6. Would it be 2, the Bills, 3, 4 out of 5, right? Because Kansas City, Houston, beat Cincinnati, lose to Buffalo, lose. There's no way they lose 4 out of 5 down the stretch. I just think they absolutely pummel Miami, pummel them.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So, all right. Well, we'll get into some of those scenarios on the later week show as we preview New England. Really glad to bring you this show today, and looking forward to this playoff run. We'll be at you with primetime action and primetime coverage. But from the Kevin and Jason show, I'm Kevin. That's Jason.
Thanks, guys.